Good morning. Welcome to the DFS Army YouTube channel. I am Razzle11, and you can find me on Twitter at Razzle11Grinds. Going to take a look at some pitching for today, Saturday, the 15th of July. Coming off a pretty great Friday night for us at DFS Army and for myself. Screenshots floating around, so good return from the All-Star break for us. We're going to dig into today. We're going to focus on the 12-game main slate, not really looking at the 4-game day slate. If you are, realize that Gausman has been scratched already today, and Bassett is starting in his place. So let's dig into the main slate here. Looking at some weather tonight, we have some weather in Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, and Atlanta. Cincinnati is the roughest of the bunch. Plenty of wind blowing out in parks today as well. So let us dig in. Right away at the top, we get Spencer Strider against the White Sox. We were all about Charlie Morton against the White Sox yesterday, so we're going to be all about Spencer Strider as a minus 305 favorite. 12.8K is a healthy price point to pay, but we see what kind of returns we get from him. Going to be totally fine. Obviously, he makes it trickier to get stacks in that we like, so there is a trade-off there. Pablo Lopez coming in at a minus 235 favorite. Certainly going to be in play for me. Been phenomenal on the road. Dominant in his last start before the All-Star break with a complete game shutout, throwing just 100 pitches to get it done. Double-digit Ks for the second time in 3 starts. 9+ strikeouts in 4 of his last 5. Big spot. Obviously, he's going to be popular against Oakland. I would expect he performs better than Maeda did for us on Friday night. Framber Valdez against the Angels has absolutely dominated them through 2 starts this season. Like ridiculous numbers. I'm going to go right back to him here. He is a minus 140 road favorite. Not much needs to be said. Obviously, he hasn't been super sharp recently. Still doesn't have the K upside, that we like to see from around 10K price point. But he's been so steady and obviously just ridiculously strong against the Angels this season. I don't know if we can go to Senga against the Dodgers. I don't hate it. He dominated Arizona his last start before the end of the first half. Dominated Tampa Bay when they were rolling in mid-May. So he does have upside against strong offenses. I'm just not sure that I want to go there. He is a minus 115 favorite, but I think I'd just rather pay the 200 for Valdez, or 300 less for George Kirby. Andrew Abbott taking on the Brewers again. Conundrum for me because I love taking left-handed pitching against the Brewers. Thankfully, with the potential weather in Cincinnati, right now we have it at a 60% in-game delay risk. That may just take the decision out of my hands, and I might not have to rely on Abbott. But I do expect some sort of a bounce back for him, and we know that the Brewers are just not that great against left-handed pitching. So right now he's in consideration, but I need to know more about the weather in Cincinnati. George Kirby, minus 220 favorite. Great spot, similar to Luis Castillo, who was just so-so yesterday. I don't really like the fact that 4 less Ks in 3 out of his last 4 starts before, in the first half. Hopefully the extra rest has done him well and he can come out strong. Solid price point, so he's firmly in my player pool. Freddie Peralta, like you talked about with Cincinnati, weather, big issue. His road numbers are pretty bad. does have massive K ability, and we did just see Cincinnati get mowed down by Corbin Burns on Friday night. Shout out to Corbin Burns and the 40 plus DK points that he got me. I appreciate that. I did had to I had to add Corbin Burns into my pitcher pool later once we lost Tyler Glasnow to the rainout. Definitely happy I decided to do that. Um, but all right, Braxton Garrett, somebody that I've been using a ton. Um, I'm just not sure that I'm gonna go there today. I might. His key numbers have been all over the place. Been weaker the last few starts, but his numbers on the road have been great. The overall Baltimore squad um, really hit or miss, and obviously I like left-handed pitching in Camden because of that gigantic left field. Really cuts down on the home run numbers. So I could see myself ending up with Garrett, but I would think right now he's on the outside looking in. I like Detmers' upside. He's coming off a rough start to close out the first half, but prior to that, he had been absolutely rolling Ks and everything. Um, I'm not I'm not as afraid of the Houston offense as I have been in years past, so maybe Detmers is in a solid spot. He did struggle against Houston the one time he faced them, but his numbers have been so strong at home, averaging nearly twice as many DK points per game in his home starts this season. So he's somebody that I think has plenty of upside that could pay off this evening. Alex Cobb looks like he's a minus 155 favorite. Uh, hasn't been good on the road, so that's a big worry for me. But the Pittsburgh offense has been struggling for some time now. Obviously, the question becomes the weather. There's a 35% delay or in-game delay risk right now. Uh, and with the pitching options we do have, I may not want to even take my chances on that at this point. There just may not be a need to do so. Rangers Torres, somebody I've obviously loved using, but I'm going to be off of him. He's kind of looked rough the last couple. And San Diego versus left-handed pitching is something that I don't try to mess with. They just have plenty of upside. Cooper Criswell, if we get a traditional start out of him, or the long man, I'm intrigued just because the upside against Kansas City is there. If he's a long man at 7,500, that's a little worrisome, but uh, the matchup is nice. But it is game two of a doubleheader. He's a minus 235 favorite right now, so uh, he's just not a lock by any means. But the matchup itself lends me to want to consider him. Tony Gonsolin, it's not somebody I really use. His road numbers have been solid, just not picking up any wins, which lowers his fantasy points per game. His last four starts have been pretty bad, so I don't think I want to use him against the Mets at this point. Lorenzen was an all-star, which still blows my mind, but a couple strong starts to close out the first half. Seattle does strike out a ton, uh, so maybe there's upside there, but right now I would say he's probably somebody on the outside looking in. Lance Lynn, a lot of K upside, but going against Atlanta, no thanks. I'd rather use a ton of Atlanta bats against him for home run upside. Obviously, 22 home runs allowed already this year, just over 100 innings. So Atlanta is definitely going to hit some home runs tonight. Kyle Gibson absolutely dominated the Twins, his former team. Huge K numbers. Um, I like the matchup against Miami. Dean Kramer was in my big lineup from Friday night as well as my SB2. So he did great against Miami. So I'm going to consider going back to a Baltimore pitcher in this matchup. I just don't know that he has the same pure upside as Kramer did. Um, but obviously, it's tough to say that when Gibson's coming off of an 11K performance, um, his best performance of the year. He did strike out 11 earlier, so it shows you it's not a complete aberration, but I would guess he drops back into the 5 or 6K range. As far as everybody else down here on the list, I'm not really a fan of anybody. We have used Hogan Harris before, but he's currently throwing the ball pretty atrociously. There's K upside in that matchup. Oviedo was somebody we've used at times, but I don't really want to use him against San Francisco and the lefties. And his recent trends haven't been that all that great either. Maybe Steven Matz looked really good in his first start back in the rotation against the White Sox. Uh, Washington doesn't strike out a ton, so that's a worry. Uh, but it is a solid matchup overall. He is a minus 205 favorite. Uh, so it's interesting. I just don't know if I'll get there. I mean, Matz is talented. He's somebody that over the years we've paid probably 8,500 to 9,500 for. I don't really remember off the top of my head. Some of the higher price points over the years, but uh, obviously talented enough to get it done. At 5,200. I'm just not sure I want to pick on Washington because of their lack of K upside. And obviously, we don't really know. Uh, the St. Louis pitching plans could change as well. Friday night's game was suspended, so that is resuming today as well. So we don't really know what they're going to do as far as pitching goes. So we're going to want to stay tuned and get an update throughout the day. But there we have it. There's a look at the main slate pitching. If you enjoy what I bring to you, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn that notification bell on, get the alert anytime we drop videos here at DFS Army. And if you want to join us, get access to coaches, myself, our tools, Discord, I will put links in the description below. You can use promo code RAZ, that's RAZ, for 10% off your monthly membership. And as always, best of luck, everybody.